Now I'd like to introduce our speaker. I'll give you a little bit of the background of him. He was born and raised in California. He went to Fresno State, where he set the NCAA record for most passes in a row without an interception, 271 passes in a row. He went on to win the Sammy Ball Award as the top quarterback in the nation. In the 1994 draft, he was the 6th player taken by the Tampa Bay Bucks. He led them to the playoffs, and he went to the Pro Bowl with them. But in the last year of his contract, he got hurt, and they released him. Life has its ups and downs. The Ravens signed him in 2000, that 2000 year, that magical year, to be Tony Banks' backup. But halfway through the season, after they lost 2 straight games and went 4 straight games without a touchdown, without an offensive touchdown. By the way, Max Stover won 2 of those games with 5 field goals in one and 4 in the other. He had a little help from the defense too, but he won those 2 games. They decided to go with Trent Dilfer. And he lost his first game. I think it was the Steelers, wasn't it, the first game? And then he won 11 in a row. 11 games in a row in the NFL, including Super Bowl 35 championship. But again, life has its up and downs. You know, when Joe Flacco won the Super Bowl last year, he got a $120 million contract. When Trent Dilfer won the Super Bowl, he got cut. We talk about ups and downs. I thought it was a bad decision then, and I still do. They went, the next 7 years, they had 1 playoff win. And they only made the playoff 3 times in those 7 years before John Harbaugh and Joe Flacco got here. You know, Trent went on to the Seattle Seahawks as a backup to Matt Hasselbeck. He got to start 4 games that year and won all 4 of them. So it's the 11 plus 4. He won 15 in a row as a starting quarterback. Again, though, life has its ups and downs. Injuries hit him a couple of times when he had the opportunity to be the starter in Seattle, and it just didn't work out. But much bigger than that, Trent, during that time frame, lost his 5-year-old son Trevin to a heart condition. I remember hearing about that, and there were so many prayers here because Trent made a great impact here in Baltimore while he was here. See, I remember Trent Dilfer as a guy who came to Gilman School, where I coach, twice during that Super Bowl. He asked to come to speak to those kids. He made such an impact. We had a reunion over Christmas when a bunch of kids were back, and that was brought up when he came in and spoke to those kids and the impact that he had on their lives. He came to FCA twice and spoke to them. And we learned that during that time when he spoke to us how much FCA had meant to him and how going to an FCA camp had really changed his life and the direction of his life, and you know, gave him and gives all of us with a Christian worldview the ability to handle those life's ups and downs. And I tell you again how inspirational he is that I get to see, and anybody who's played in this game gets to see him handle all those ups and downs, playing and then personally. And he's still now making impact on kids. To me, he's the top NFL analyst on ESPN. I think he has great insights. I love to listen to him. I use the things he says in the coaching that I do and the commentating that I do. I copy from him a lot of times. And he's still, you know, having an impact with kids. He runs the Elite 11 quarterback camp. In fact, one of the Gilman quarterbacks, Shane Cockrell, who now, by the way, is at the University of Maryland, vying for their quarterback position, made the top 11 in his camp a couple of years ago. And he spends most of his time now following his 3 daughters around. His oldest daughter, we heard from a volleyball player here, his girls are volleyball players. The oldest is going to Notre Dame to play next year volleyball. The sophomore is being recruited by everybody already. And the youngest one, though, he says plays a different game. Lacrosse. Anybody ever hear that here out in California? Plays lacrosse. He said he found out about lacrosse here you know, during those times in winning 11, he didn't sleep a lot, he said, so he stayed up all night, and lacrosse is on all night here in Baltimore, so he learned the game from that. But to me, again, he's one of those great inspirational guys in the NFL, and inspirational for Jesus Christ. And that's what touches my heart and all our hearts. So it's my pleasure to introduce Trent Dilfer. Trent?
Well, a lot of that was a lot of hair ago. And what an intro. I kind of equate this program to the Ravens Super Bowl a couple years ago. Joe got hot. They got to a 21-6 lead. Am I correct on that? And then they kind of hit that lull. Well, you're getting ready for the lull in this program. Because this is a tough group to follow. Whitney, Doug, and brother were on fire. Doug, please don't take my job at ESPN. We get done doing what you're doing. I usually have a backup plan. You know, as a quarterback, you learn to have an audible system all the time. Get out of the bad play. And trust me, when I was a Raven, I got a lot of bad calls put in my helmet. And I had to get out of a lot of them. And usually my backup plan, and I'm telling you, it's never failed. And my wife told me, she goes, you know, your backup plan, your audible might not work with this crowd. And I go, why? And she goes, because Stover's going to be there. And I go, she knows my backup plan. My backup plan is usually take my ring off, and I toss it around, everybody gets to take a picture with it. Because if I bomb, all you're going to remember is holding the Super Bowl ring. Well, Stover's been around the back this whole time showing everybody the Super Bowl ring and taking pictures, so I can't use my backup plan. So this is off to a tough start. Before I get started, I think you got to understand something about me. I live my life to Philippians 3:13. Forgetting what is behind and straining towards what is ahead. I don't live my life in the rearview mirror. So I don't spend a whole lot of time reflecting on my career. I learned a ton from my career. I'm grateful and blessed by my career, the total mediocrity of it. But I really don't, I'm not the guy that sits back and, you know, remembers the old stories and tells the war stories. In fact, I think one of the most obnoxious things in the world is when the old bald jock gets up on stage and just tells a bunch of old war stories. I remember when I did this, and I threw this one pass to him, and I don't think that way, and frankly, I don't have a lot of great memories. You don't remember the good stuff because you expect to do it. It's the bad stuff you remember. It's the demons that keep me up at night of missing Kadri against the Steelers in that one loss. It was wide open at the end of the game on a crossing route. If I just would have hit him, we would have beat the Steelers. I would have been 12-0. The 2 touchdown passes I missed to Patrick Johnson in the Super Bowl, not the one I hit to Stokely. So, and I'm not being totally transparent with you. That's honestly, most athletes are like that. We remember the bad stuff. Well, I did let myself go down memory lane a little bit in anticipation for tonight. And I knew what I wanted to talk about. I knew my themes. I didn't realize my car. Somebody could have turned my collar was out of my jacket. This is like TV cameras, ESPN. And you're like, oh my gosh, am I really wearing that? I let myself, it's out again, isn't it? I might just take my jacket off, except I flew across the country in the shirt today. So there's wrinkles all over it. I actually let myself go down memory lane. And I really thought that what would come out of that would be these great stories. Stories of, you know, Ray and Shannon and Rod and Tony in jail and myself in the ice tub studying our playbooks. The practical jokes that went on throughout the whole year. Putting a block of cheese in Chris Redmond's helmet in the front pad and having cheese roll down his face the whole day of practice. Some of the things we did on the road after we beat the Raiders, coming back and going to some place in downtown Baltimore that I still can't believe I ended up at. But it it was funny is as I started going through memory lane, here's what came up. I'm just kind of giving you the journey from when I left Tampa to my time here in Baltimore. Because I've only been back a couple times. I was back a few years ago for the 10-year reunion of the Super Bowl team. I would like to come back more. Life is so fast and busy that I don't get a chance to go back to a lot of places that are dear to me. I signed here. By the way, Stan basically gave my entire talk. So you're I'm basically going to recycle Stan's intro to me tonight as the keynote speech. I signed with the Ravens as a free agent. I was not released by Tampa. I was due a big signing bonus that year. And it's actually going to make me the highest paid player in the National Football League, you can believe it. So it was very wise of the Bucs not to pick up the option. And I'd broken my collarbone that year and had blown out my AC joint middle of the season against Seattle Seahawks. So when my contract was up, they had found a new quarterback in Sean King, so I came here and signed for 1/5 of what I would have made in Tampa had they picked up my option. I get here, and I'm dealing with this collarbone AC joint. I can't throw. Now I'm a quarterback, and I can't throw. Now, many people in Baltimore say that never changed. Well, I literally couldn't throw. I never got a chance to rehab my shoulder because of the way this collar's going to drive me nuts. I'm going to take my jacket off because this is. Here we go. Thank you. See all the wrinkles? This is United Airlines. Style by United Airlines. I never had a chance to rehab my shoulder, so I was dealing with a broken collarbone, a blown out AC joint, and was trying to learn this offense, and I was backing up Tony Banks. It was quite a struggle. I'd also hurt my ankle in Tampa and was dealing with the rehab of that, and when I was in Tampa, I had shot it up so many times in cortisone to be able to play that the cortisone was rotting away my Achilles tendon, which later ruptured in Seattle in Cowboy Stadium, playing for the Seahawks a couple years later. So I was somewhat crippled when I got here. You'll see where this is going. It was funny, I moved my family. People forget that we actually have families. Like, we're not just pieces of property that you purchase and we go and win football games for you. We're really human beings and we have families. And I had just built my dream house in Tampa, on the water. I have 3 kids under the ages of 4. And now all of a sudden, we're leaving Tampa and we're going to Baltimore and we're renting a house in Owings Mills. It's not a big deal, it's a great place, great people we live next to, except that I also rented silverware and plates and sheets and everything else. The only thing that we owned when we were here in Baltimore, the only thing we had that we owned ourselves was what we could fit in our car that my brother-in-law drove up from Tampa to Baltimore. Everything else was rented. So, moving my family, I'm dealing with these injuries, and you're wondering, why is he telling us that? Because this is what I remember. Honestly, this is when I let myself go down memory road, I start thinking about, okay, what was my experience in Baltimore? And I'm just going through the list with you. I was hurt. I was going crazy. I'm moving my family from Tampa to Baltimore. I'm renting silverware. And I don't know anybody. So I'm integrated into a new football team. My kids, 3 under the age of 4, like I said, are going crazy. I'm changing diapers. I have 3 car seats in the car. Do you know how hard that is? To this day, now that my kids are older, I didn't mind the diapers. I didn't mind being peed on. I didn't mind that stuff. It was reaching over the car seats to get them in and out. To this day, I think that's why I have a bad back, not all the years of football I played. So then the season starts, and first thing happens to me is I tear cartilage in my knee in practice. How do you get hurt in practice? We don't even work that hard in practice. And I tear cartilage in my knee, so I have surgery on my knee as the backup. Then, as I started playing for Tony, and we're winning some games, I got hit. The doctors still don't know when. They think it's the first Tennessee game. And I developed this thing called osteitis pubis. Now, there's young people in the audience, so I'm not going to get too into this. Basically, it's when your hip flexor and groin, where it goes into your pelvis, it fuses. It calcifies. And I was developing this, and the Baltimore doctors, no fault of theirs, they diagnosed it as a sports hernia, but I later would have to get 12-inch needles stuck into my pelvis to go to play games in Seattle before the game. The doctors in Seattle told me when I got there after leaving Baltimore that they didn't understand how I was able to throw a football, let alone take a snap from center. So that's some of the stuff I was going through. I got vertigo. Matt, remember this? I got vertigo on the way out to Arizona, playing the Cardinals in week 15. When we came back, I played so bad. I'm glad I have an excuse for how bad I played that game. When I came back, my eardrum burst. That was the week before the Jets' week 16 game, before we went into the playoffs. So as you can tell, my memory lane isn't about victories and parades. And I'm sorry. I would love to come up here and just have you guys ripping and roaring and telling these epic stories of the great victories we had and all that went behind the scenes. When I let myself go there, this is what I remember. This is my memory lane. And I'm not going to be a total buzzkill. This does have a point to it. It's interesting because if I were to define my 9-month Raven experience, I would define it as uncomfortable. It's very, very uncomfortable. Yet, in the midst of that, we, as a team, and I played a part of that, found greatness. And that's what I want to land on. Because if life's taught me anything, it's that the edge of uncomfortableness is where you discover greatness. And people do not like to hear that. Because we don't like to be uncomfortable. I don't like to be uncomfortable. But it's at that edge where we discover greatness. And many times, that greatness reveals itself in the most epic way. Significance. The greatest form of greatness. I experienced it in a football context. I just told you, it's very uncomfortable here for 9 months. Got to experience great significance and greatness in terms of team winning. And I really believe it was because of what I had to do, what we had to do in our uncomfortable moments. And as I look back on my life now, I see a lot of that servicing in my life. And without getting too much into my background, I received Christ when I was 10 at a summer camp. I always say I received Him as Savior. I didn't get the Lord part yet. And I lived 10 years, I don't want to say in total rebellion, but very confused as a Christian. And I would say the last, in my early college years, it was rebellion. To the point where I was almost a degenerate my first 2 years in college. And I had a great man who was the college director of the church that I kind of dipped my head in now when I felt guilty those first 2 years in college, who was also on staff with FCA. And he invited me to come down to an FCA camp in Thousand Oaks, California, to be a counselor. And the first thing I thought when he asked me was, I know I'm smoking stuff, what are you smoking? Because I know what I'm doing. I know what I did last night, I know what I did the night before that, I know what I've been doing my 2 years in college. And by no means does it fit an FCA college counselor lifestyle. And yet he had the wisdom to bring me down there. And when I got down to Thousand Oaks from Fresno, here's what I walked into, a 36-hour staff training session. 22 college athletes from all over California, totally committed in their walks with Christ, totally mature, and me. And I swear to this day, they all knew what a degenerate I was too, and I never actually told them. I mean, I stuck out like such a sore thumb. You want to talk about uncomfortable? That was really uncomfortable. And I sat there for the first 8 hours of this 36-hour staff training session. The worst feeling in my stomach I've ever had in my life. And these 22 college students loved on me. And the leadership team that was training them from the FCA loved on me. And they didn't judge me. And they didn't say, we're great and you're bad. They embraced me with open arms. And through how they treated me, they truly shared the gospel with me. And they truly showed me what a Christian lifestyle looked like. And it was that moment in my total discomfort, as uncomfortable as I've ever been in my life, that God worked something totally awesome in me and said, you are now mine, Trent. You are now mine. I'm teaching you the Lord part now. And it's from that moment on at an FCA summer camp that I have walked so closely with God. That I have tried my best to make every decision I make to be that one, to be a decision that would glorify the Lord. Well, now, I was at this camp and I'd go back to school. And I was going back to a Fresno State campus where I only knew one Christian on the entire campus. That was, I should say, one student that was a Christian. Her name was Cassandra. And I remember getting back to campus and calling Cassandra. We had dated once my freshman year. She fell asleep on our date because she said I was boring. And then the other times I asked her out, she basically said, you're a degenerate. I don't date degenerates. I called her and I said, hey, you're never going to believe what happened to me. My life's been radically changed. I want to do something different. I want to live a different life. And she goes, cool, let's get together. Well, we got together, and this July we'll be married for 21 years. And you want to talk about uncomfortable? How about going to your football team where they had named a drinking game after me? A bar had named Thursday nights after me. I'm not kidding. I think they really did. And then I went back, and now I'm trying to live a life for Christ. I have one Christian friend who I end up marrying. Pretty good strategy, actually. Just today, when my daughter asked me, can I do a small group with Johnny? I'm going to say, heck no. No small group 101 Bible studies, girls and boys. Doug, did you hear that? But very uncomfortable starting a huddle on FCA. Amazing though. A group of us came together, started a huddle on Fresno State's campus. 20-something years later, thousands of kids have gone through that huddle at FCA. Thousands of lives have been changed through the ministry of FCA because a few of us were willing to get uncomfortable and start something on that campus. Well, this theme of God doing neat things in my discomfort continued after college. I went to Tampa. And your first round draft pick, they give you a bunch of money and you're dumb as a box of rocks. And that was me. And I went to Tampa and I was overwhelmed, wasn't ready, left school early, wasn't ready, newly married. And it was amazing the people, as I look back, that surrounded me and loved on me and carried me through those times, all with FCA backgrounds. All people, Clyde Christensen, who's now been with the Indianapolis Colts for years, was on Coach Dungy's staff when I was there when they won a Super Bowl, has carried the banner of FCA around this country forever, mentored me. Doug Gilcrease, the chaplain, FCA background. All the people that carried me through the tough times in Tampa had an FCA background. Obviously, I told you about the transition from Tampa to Baltimore. Seattle, some tough stuff happened. Seattle is very uncomfortable. I told you about my injury, tore my Achilles, went through a bunch of other injury stuff. But the worst thing any parent could ever go through, we lost our son. In 2003, he was 5.5 years old. And without getting too much into it, because I don't think it's totally relevant to tonight's message, but when you're broken to a point where you don't know if you can get out of bed, there's certain people that God uses to help rebuild you. Because truly your soul is broken. And God uses people to rebuild your soul. And if I went through the list of people that were there for myself, my wife, our family, FCA backgrounds. People whose lives have been changed through the ministry of FCA. Who then in turn paid it forward by going and finding a couple who had lost their son and sacrificing their lives for them. We were at the hospital for 40 days with them. and they set up a thing called Camp Trevin. And it was basically 8, 9 families that stopped life. These people ran companies, they had real jobs like you have, or some of you have. And they came in and they sat with us, and 24 hours a day lived with us and just loved on us. Go back to their history, all FCA backgrounds. The ministry of FCA touched them in such a way that they learned how to give back. Now I'm a daughter of two, now I'm a son, sorry, not a daughter, not a daughter. I'm the father, thank you, of 2 teenage daughters and a preteen. That's uncomfortable. More uncomfortable is that my 18-year-old now is a boyfriend. Really don't like it. Not gonna lie. Great kid, don't like it. And Saturday night we have our first prom. And I've been really grumpy for about 3 weeks. Oldest daughter is going away to college. Very uncomfortable. I'm scared to death. I'm not going to lie to you. To Indiana, of all places, California. My point is this, is that I know God's getting ready to do something really great in our lives. Because we're really uncomfortable. Because that's been His history. Read Matthew 5. I didn't want to go over the Sermon on the Mount. I'm sure most of you have read it. Who's blessed? Poor in spirit, meek, persecuted, uncomfortable. That's how God works. And I know He's getting ready to do something really cool in the Dilfer household, because I hope it's not Saturday night, because I'm really uncomfortable Saturday night. You know what I know though? I know God's getting ready to do something really cool. Something great. Something significant. Something epic. Through the ministry of FCA in this city and in this region. Why do I know that? I don't live here. It's the 3rd time I've been here since I've played here. I know it because FCA is uncomfortable right now. They're in an uncomfortable situation financially. They're in an uncomfortable situation from a volunteer standpoint, volunteer staff standpoint. You heard the big dreams FCA has here, right? We heard them about 45 minutes ago. Awesome, big dreams. That's uncomfortable for a ministry. That tells me God's getting ready to do something really cool. You know who He's going to use? Those of you right now that are uncomfortable with my speech. Because you know I'm talking to you. Because right now, God is stirring in your hearts. Man, I need to be more involved. I need to give more money. I need to write a bigger check than I was going to write when I came tonight. I need to give more per month. I need to volunteer more time. I need to mentor more kids. I need to get trained better. And you're uncomfortable because you like your little comfortable life. I don't blame you. I like mine too. But God's going to do something really cool, great, with FCA's ministry in this city and in this region. Because they're uncomfortable as a ministry. Who's He going to use? You right now saying, "He ain't talking to me." Yes, I am. I'm talking to you. If you are uncomfortable right now with what I'm saying, if you're uncomfortable because God is stirring in your heart, then God is saying, "I want to use you." Because when you are less, I am more. When you are uncomfortable, that's when I come out to my fullest. And He wants to do it through you, through the ministry of FCA. And I say that with authority because in my 42 years of life, hopefully less than halfway, you say more? Less than halfway there. That because of some life circumstances have been very uncomfortable, God has shown me very clearly that's what He works His best. An honor being back. I truly, truly love my 9 months here, as uncomfortable as I was. And mainly it's because of the people like you. This is a great city, with great support. And without tearing up because OJ is here, in all honesty, some of my fondest memories are here. It was great. I'm sure I'm very thankful. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you. God bless you.